Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of December the 5th, 2022. Now for today's horoscope, I should have a co-presenter with me, but I think he is a little bit tired and backed away from the job. So, unfortunately, you have to stay with me to find out what we can expect in the following week? Well, from an astrological perspective, it is going to feel like an emotional roller coaster, like a sinus, really, ups and downs, in a very, how should I say, small, perhaps insignificant detail way. Nothing is what it seems. There is like an aura of what is true, what is not. But again, perhaps in the small details which don't necessarily matter to the big picture as much, but we're caught up in the moment so intensely that it does matter to us. And that is what the small details, the feeling of what she said, what he said, but how should I interpret it? This way, that way? Is it love? Is it friendship? What is it? So, yes, things are not gonna be all that very clear this week, but as I said, none of what kind of catches us in an invisible emotional spider web actually matters to the big picture. But anyway, let's get started. And one of the energies that we have at the very beginning of the week is Venus in Sagittarius squaring Neptune emotionally. Venus in Sagittarius is, yes, all about our greatest emotional aspirations, what we would truly deserve, what would truly put us in a position of not necessarily power, but our own philosophical comfort zone, if that even makes sense. But Neptune, well, Neptune has a little bit other plans because it is the higher octave of Venus. It shows us the other side of the spectrum, everything that would go with it, and perhaps the not so favorable expressions of whatever it is that we desire. Because don't get me wrong, no desire or the fulfillment of a desire is perfect, as in it will always stray from our expectations. But of course, that is the surprise and positive element. When it meets our expectations, that's the sad part, because the dream is killed immediately, and the alchemist journey is nullified right there and then by our own control and power, perhaps. So Neptune's conversation with Venus will definitely remind us of this, that the dream is 10 times more beautiful when it never ever ends, when it just comes into reality in such a way where it still permits the dream to go on, and that's beautiful. But that's a hard energy, and that energy needs a lot of emotional and actually spiritual maturity. In 2020, in the age of digitalization, I'm not sure how many of us do have that old wisdom to appreciate, when life becomes, how should I say, spirited in a way that kind of strays from our experiences. But of course, there is Mercury as well, squaring Jupiter also in Pisces. So it's not as easy for the mind, because the mind is also very caught up in whatever the moods and the balancing of desire and getting it. That will do things to our mental sphere, where we have a lot to kind of figure out, and the true essence of it is the measure. Now, we might have, the bigger picture before us, even if that bigger picture for some of us is right now there's nothing you can do, nothing is in your hands, so sleep on it or whatever. That is very much the big picture for many people. And it's not bad. It is just us who wanna panic, who wanna get a bit restless, frustrated, but that might be optional because when actually reality tells us that there's nothing we can do to hasten or whatever, then it is what it is. But for other people, of course, the big picture is much more clear. They have a very crystallized plan, desire, goals, accomplishments, investments, job, what they like to produce and stuff like that. So yeah, it depends. But the small details, the feeling of it, the color of it, the dream of it, well, that's where things get complicated. So you can imagine misinterpretations. You can imagine, exactly as I said at the beginning, what he said, what she said, or what Miki did to me. That he kind of promised that he's gonna co-present, but he found it infinitely boring. So that will be part of the picture when people at the very last minute change their moods. And imagine if that's a relationship and a partner finally has that feeling that, oh, finally she's mine or he's mine. And when the kiss has to take place, well, he or she kind of changed their mind immediately, so back to the drawing board. But that's also part of the nitty gritty, but also the big picture, because the big picture says time still needs to, take effect. Then at the beginning of the week, we still have Mars is trine to Saturn. That gives us a certain power to stay in reality. That gives us a sense to know and have within us everything that we did accomplish. So a good sense of security and inner strength. Actually, Mars retrograde based on the past. Of all the empowered moments, success moments, figuring out moments, when nothing could break us, we had in Saturn in the past. And sometimes, as right now, the past is actually, why not, a source of strength, courage, inspiration, and positivity. That is why we need to alchemize it so it stays the same way. But towards the end of the week, the Mars is trine to Saturn is going to fade away. So it's up to our own inner Saturn to do his job. But at the same time, towards the end of the week, Mercury is gonna be in a different sign. Venus is gonna start getting anoretic. Jupiter heavily anoretic. So that will change the mood. But as you see right now, there is squares in the sky, so it feels a little bit tense. And there is the Sun quincunx Uranus. Now this is where it's not black and white. It's not over, but neither, because Uranus brings the surprise. Uranus brings the epiphanies. Uranus brings the, well, I didn't think about that, but what if, and the surprising communication. Surprise, surprise, someone who you thought was single and was flirting with you for a year was never single. And this is just an example. Or any Taurian, you were so certain, you were convinced of something, and then surprise, surprise, it wasn't the same way. Now, quincunx, it doesn't change anything in the present, absolutely anything. It's just, but you're a bit shocked, a bit stunned, and you want to see the lesson in this, but there is no lesson. The lesson is go with the flow. So what? Look at the present. The present is unaltered, regardless if you knew things one way or if you knew the stark truth of things. It really didn't matter. Why? Because you used your Neptune correctly. You used your Jupiter correctly. So you did nothing wrong. Or better said, you did nothing that leaves a permanent impact. So this is how illusions and truths and how you thought things to be and how they are gonna really be dished out this week. But we must not permit these to get in our way in a negative sense, because a quincunx can also have a humorous side to it. It can also have a favorably positive side to it. So, you know, and Uranus retrograde, sometimes the surprise factor is our own reaction. You know what I mean? I never thought it would make me feel this way. And it still did. Venusian matters. And Sagittarius. But at the end of the day, doesn't this make you a much better adventurer in life, where it was a philosophical adventure perhaps, or a fantasy perhaps, but it was beautiful and you learned so very many things from it. Much more than if you would have truly lived it, if you know what I mean. So the universe comes with great wisdom to those who can receive it, and for some beings, people, illusion, because they have a sacredness to them, is always just a tool of magic and never a tool of darkness. How blessed are some Neptunian people here? Artists, singers, musicians, composers, dreamers, everyone. And it is this week where perhaps these people, the artists, the artistic souls, the deep dreamers, those who bring beauty, imagination in the world, might, and this, because the square can be a surprise of a different kind. You don't know what your art does to others. It might heal, it might delight, it might do things and go to places and people's emotions and heart which you could have never ever known. And there comes a moment, the square, the shock, the surprise, when you find out, well, your art actually delighted a person, a group of people, or whatever, in a way that perhaps big names do. And what do you do with that feedback? What do you do with that pleasant surprise? Does it boost your confidence? Or does it make you 10 times more humble? What does it do to you? The square is truly in your hands, but anyway, for artists and artistic souls, there are gonna be surprises this week. So, what will you do with the surprise? And another energy, yeah, the square to Jupiter. Now, this is where we need to be careful, because Jupiter is conjuncting a not so benevolent star, fixed star. So we must be careful not to magnify certain negativity within ourselves. Because, and at the same time, neither should we, blind, like totally fanatic blind faith in anything will not lead to good places, and it never ever has done. Now, also in the sky, Pluto opposes Black Moon Lilith. So, as I said in previous horoscopes, this adds to the emotional intensity. What do you do? What shame, perhaps? If it's like a silly shame, all that better, because that means for you it's very symbolic and laughable. But you can imagine that some people, especially Pluto and Capricorn, leaders, influential people who have all the money, all the power, all the control, even in a family, if it's one of the partners who is the top alpha, then, and Black Moon Lilith in Cancer, the shame. Either what have you done, the past, skeletons out of the closet. And Cancer is usually not the past 80 years, but past, I don't know, karmic cycle. So, Infidelity is gonna be revealed. Things are gonna be revealed. Family dynamics. But as I said, this is an opposition. So whatever reveals or happens in a smaller scale is there to truly set things right. So, of course, under this energy, some politicians are gonna face jail in a global expression, or dirty secrets are gonna come out. But, in family and in the more personal expression of this energy, well, whatever comes out is there to offer you peace of mind or to be in the truth, regardless of who you are, the recipient, the that who the secret shocks, or the who the secret belongs to, or whatever. But as I said, this is more of an emotional energy. So some of this what I really feel. And if what you feel should, or I don't know, is not promising for the future, like I don't love you anymore, you make me feel sad, all of this, well, but imagine the opposite. When there are friendships involved, and long friendships, and Lilith. Well, I'm attracted to you. And the other person says, so after 20 years, or insert any, this is when you tell me. And you can imagine this changes stuff, this changes dynamics. Or I don't know. Black Moon Lilith in Cancer has other specialities as well, like, let's imagine there is a happy marriage and, surprise, surprise, the wife finds out that the husband also has a more submissive side to him. This might do absolutely no harm to the marriage, but this might intoxicate the marriage. Who knows what it, but the information needs to come out for both. And this is in a way karmic. Very karmic. So this is the universe dishes out in order for the two people, or the, who are involved, even politically speaking, to confront each other in a different Plutonian intensity, the truth, the dark truth, and Black Moon Lilith, the shamelessness, or the shame, or the acceptance of something, which, the complication of this. For other people, coming out of the closet in a surprising way, but you can imagine for some that is the most profound healing. Or, speaking about the world stage, that handsome star, you've been following for years. And, surprise, surprise, he has a boyfriend. Or, take this situation in any way, shape, and form that can either make you not be a fan immediately, or make you be a different kind of fan. So, this Plutonian and Black Moon Lilith activity will be intense. And as just energy, of course, this will activate the dark side. When the dark side fights with itself. Now, please allow me to make a very, very, very stupid and silly comparison, mythologically speaking. Now, if Pluto is Lord of the Underworld, well then in this sense, Black Moon Lilith is simply the Queen of the Underworld. And when these two, it's not a square, it's an opposition. They are on the pedestal together, but against, they're like rivals, but on the same side, if you know what I mean. Neither of them wants to win, really. So it's not a square, it's not as tensioned, but it is an opposition. So perhaps this is a tension that's unimagined. It's so hard to explain the alchemical nuance of these energies. So where I want to go with this is that it can be pretty dark, where darkness competes with darkness. So that's the ugliest kind of expression. And chances are this is common, but this is usually under the curtains. No one has any idea, no one has ever seen it, no one even cares. But imagine if a glimpse is shed on it. And this is where the glimpse comes into play, because if we move on, sorry. And we do have the, on the 6th or 7th, this is good enough, sorry, the full moon in Gemini that speaks in square to Neptune. So that means the full moon is conjunct Mars, hand in hand with Mars, hand in hand with a really, really beneficial fixed star. It opposes the sun, like any full moon, but this is where the full moon is full moon, but Mars opposes the sun. And this is important because if the sun is our highest aspiration in Sagittarius, it gains a Jupiterian expression. Opposing Mars in Gemini, the lower mind, the two need to figure the middle way out, the middle way being how we get the cake and eat it, or how we solve the problem, how we get where we need to be, not in a perfect way. Mars in the retrograde in Gemini, compromises, temporary solutions, everything, all of that is more than welcome. So this energy can solve a lot of problems, but the T-square to Neptune, it will take a lot of inner courage to face our own truths, to face the truth within our hearts, and for some people, the truth within their own spirit. How should I say? Neptune is so strong. What a person can live, for example, religiously in a certain form of purity for tens of years, and to be born actually to be like an expression of lust. And one would praise that being for choosing the opposite, but the creator himself would not praise the being, because if one defeats their design in a fanatic way out of a sheer insanity, which in itself was passed down to that person by someone else when they were, for example, a child. They met a crazy cleric who kind of programmed be a saint. And that soul was born to be a divine courtesan, for example. Someone who is 10 million times more earthly way important than a cleric. Why? Because a divine courtesan who is full of compassion. It is not the succubus or the... I almost said a really bad word here. An escort. No, a divine courtesan whose soul leads them into different beds. But after they ultimately do what they do, the person, the subject of their, is healed, empowered, blessed by the divine, by that magnetism, that strong magnetism which only very few people can, the divine courtesans can offer. And the divine courtesan may never ever know how divine they are in their incarnation. Some do, some don't, but imagine if that is led stray. And it led stray to an impossible expression of the light. The paradox, the dichotomy, what does the creator do? Even the whole philosophical system is put into a moment of error it does not compute. Then it is the creator himself who has to dream a solution of infinite compassion. which satisfies everyone in a perfect way. If you create a paradox in the universe, in a way, if you do it with great benevolence, you are handsomely rewarded to live your artistic creation energetically. The thought of it. You might have created a dimension that didn't exist before, totally coincidentally, and it will always go into the creator's hands. It is his treasure, but you were an indirect part of it. But imagine if this magic is somehow cut off, or it and a soul who should be living their own dream is living something which is infinitely benevolent, infinitely commendable, but was never meant for them. What happens then? Well, the soul perhaps is saved, because things can happen, if you know what I mean. But the karmic beneficiaries of that soul's work on earth will not have benefited, and the cleric is crazy, so no one's gonna care, if you know what I mean. So this is where being infinitely honest to ourselves helps. Because if that soul who is living an existence not meant for them has won under this aspect, the stars themselves has this aspect, and somehow admits to themselves that how much they would feel complete to offer love to someone, and even in that way, that can immediately destroy the illusion of the sanctity and get that soul exactly where in a millisecond. So this energy, the confusion and the Neptunian vibe is like somehow a mist of acid. It can destroy a truth that you made replace your original design. Because that's possible. If you convince everything in existence, including your own being, that you are 1,000,000,000,000% need to be this and that, even if it has absolutely nothing to do with you, you become it, no problem at all. But under such aspects, always saving graces come. Exactly the Neptunian dissolving mist. It corrodes our own construct, and we get glimpses of our own truth. We look in the mirror and we see who we were always supposed to be. Would we even for a second approve of that? Then is when we're immediately cast back to our original path. Again, Mars in Gemini, who we were always supposed to be. Conjunct full moon. We feel it for the first, or we feel it, we become aware of it, we cannot deny it. The sun, T-squaring this Neptune. The external motivation is not enough to deter us from the truth, so this gives us power to choose again. If you choose the same, that's a truth, and that's blessed. Blessed, absolutely. But would you choose to, how should I say, give what you truly are another try? Oh, this can lead to surprising places. Why? Because the fixed star, it will find a way to solve the problem, to give every element here what it needs. But it's just very hard and very, very even illusory in its nature because of the T-square to Neptune. Okay, more practically speaking, because this says nothing to most people. Well, the contract, the job, the relocation, whatever you wanted to purchase, who your friend is, who your coworker is, you get a different vision of them. And that will change the feeling, the situation, and yeah, it will change a lot of things. And at this time, Mercury has already entered into the sign of Capricorn. So Mercury in Capricorn is very, very important because it's really down to earth. Let's solve it, let's fix it, let's communicate, let's talk about it, let's do it officially, paperwork. But Mercury will have a retrograde soon, so this is just the preparation of it. So don't expect miraculous solutions very, very soon, because soon, as I said, well, you can also imagine how the holidays, but the difficulties of the holidays, because we have so much going on in the world, even emotionally, because imagine war and Christmas together, and both countries are Orthodox. So it's a very, 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 very big deal. Both countries are Orthodox. So imagine in Christmas. So yeah, imagine how the holidays will even spiritually disrupt everything. So that's the Mercury retrograde. And then there are transport issues, because Mars is in Mercury's home sign of Gemini. So, and Mars retrograde in Gemini disrupts anything that is mercurial. But as soon as Mars retrograde is gonna quiet down a little bit, Mercury retrograde starts. So, and Capricorn will influence HR. So work, schedules, human resources, influx of quitting job. There is gonna be so many complications in the structure, in the hierarchy, new work legislation, but legislation which was implemented and failed, Christmas hours, Christmas shortages. We are, I would like to believe, that already adapted to this, so, but let's focus on the positive side of Mercury in Capricorn. We're gonna do it, and it's real, and we will be able to manage who has power over us and how much power in any way, and who should not have as much power, who takes our time, what takes our time, and as I said, very, very practical and down-to-earth things. And let's figuring stuff out. Even if an uncertain date is better than no date at all. And when I say date, it's not a romantic date, but rather the time, the month, that kind of things. So moving on, you see that by the 10th, the sky is not all that tense anymore, because Mercury is, comfortably in Capricorn, Venus is energetic in Sagittarius, but these are, squaring Jupiter. And I would say that this is a good energy, really, even if it's not. Because Mercury is in the right place to be down to earth. Our minds are stable enough to see things for what they are. Venus gets the emotional intensity and magnified by Jupiter, also in Pisces. That, yep, I'll make this, but this is like an emotional decision. This is how I feel, or this is how it makes me feel. This is my inner truth, like it or not, pretty or not. What it is, I'll work with this, and, a moment of determination. And determination it is, because Jupiter moves on into Aries, and that's determination itself. My truth, my spirituality, my journey, my life, my plans. And this is where it's not, yes, it has selfish nuances. It's an ego energy, but when it's your life, really, you you need to know your life. You know what I mean? So it seems that my co-presenter has awoken from his slumber. So what do you think about these energies, Mickey? Well, he says he doesn't really care all that much. And he kind of left us. So anyway, let's get serious, back to the horoscope. So the emotional intensity that this Venus Jupiter square is going to give us is actually needed. And then Venus will move into the sign of Capricorn, a part of the sky where she, just like Mercury, needs to embody her practical stuff. It's a tiny bit self-centered, or not even self-centered, because Capricorn can represent, you know, the down-to-earth centeredness, as in, if I make it okay for the group, it's gonna be okay for me. That's why I'm not saying it's that kind of but it's still self-centered, but practical. Let's cut out the romance, let's cut out the steamy love, let's cut out the ideal, and let's make, down to earth. If you love me, then show me. I'm so sorry to say this, but there are times when this is needed for everyone. If love is there, then show it, do it, touch, pay, support, help. Don't just say it. You know what I mean? In anything, in romance, in marriage, in work. If the boss loves you, pay up. Or give me the Christmas present. Or express it. Say it. Don't cry when I put my resignation. That's not how you say it. I appreciate something. Venus needs to be kind of expressed. And she's bossy in Capricorn. She doesn't take half measures. Saying is not good enough. Because even Mercury says the same thing. Because Venus and Mercury are kind of chasing each other for some time now. So where the mind goes, the heart goes, and vice versa. So their closeness to each other is good. Is really, really good. And perhaps the Mercury retrograde is gonna, again, allow the mind to meet with emotion and for the sake of wisdom and experience. And this is also what the Sabian symbol of this Gemini full moon is all about, where playful and perhaps a more immature expression of a thought meets its mature version when it becomes like serious, reliable, but it still preserves its original playfulness. And that is usually the key for solutions and successes. Acceptance, because this is mind, Gemini. I'll be okay mentally. My mindset is okay. And I am in control of my mindset. Because ultimately, that's where this energy needs to take us. For us, personally, to be in control of our mindset, not the internet, not religion, not expectation, not mom, dad, not our boyfriend, girlfriend, not our crush, not us. We are the bosses of our mindset. If our mindset reflects truly us, then our reality can. But if we never speak what we think, if we never do act as we feel or think, for example at work, well, you have 10 trillion solutions to a problem, but you have to endure one Neanderthal's limited problem solution, and you can't even speak out. Quit the job. So, this is where this energy kind of asks us to own our mindset. Or, if you're in a relationship where you kind of live life according to your partner's mindset, and this is where many times, not that the partner wants, you want comfort, You don't care about what you want. It's easier his way or her way. Just let him follow. But this energy, no, 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 no. Following your partner is even harmful to the partner. What do you bring to the table, will-wise or initiative-wise, in any, even in the bedroom? If you don't do anything, you just receive. So, but imagine in not the bedroom, in real life, if only one says what food they want, one says where to go out, one says what to do, one says the schedule. If the other is asked, well, what would you like, sweetie? Oh, I don't know. Or what do you want? If years of this build up, well then, and there comes the full moon, when it slaps you, bring something to the table. If you don't know what you want, better go and find out. Or put yourself in situations where you see what you like and what you dislike, because bring something to the table. So this energy, all of that, you know what it is? It's mindset. Mindset. You need to be control of your mindset. And not use the mind of your partner. Partner, child, friend, teacher, co-worker, neighbor, spirit world. Use your own mind sometimes. And sometimes the mind has to be strictly Gemini. The nitty-gritty preference. What's your favorite cake? The only reason why you don't really know, or you lie, because when you say something just to say something, that's not, doesn't reflect your truth, because the truth is you don't know. Go and experience it. And, you know, go and if you don't know what to choose, go and experience something. If you can't experience physically, no problem. Your mind is a machine that gives you the ability to create infinite scenarios. IBM or whatever use it. If people use it to determine the quantum nature of the universe and simulate the birth of universes, why can't you simulate what your preference in certain but that requires effort. Mars, to burn neurons, to take it seriously, to take yourself seriously, etc., etc. So yeah, but this energy will make it absolutely imperative for all of that, you know. And then as Mars loses its trine with Saturn, this trine still shows here, but then, it's just Mars. And then just Saturn working in a different part of the mind, the futuristic mind. But Gemini is more like the present mind. So this is where Mars and Saturn have to work on their own now. They lose each other's support. So Saturn has to keep up the good work, to keep on going. This is for our futures. Even if we are alone, we'll still find support, someone, friends, job, community, the place, the work, whatever. Then there's Mars and Gemini. Each and every second, I can do it. Live the present. Let's find solutions. I'm strong enough. Or, I'm weak right now. I need rest right now. I'm vulnerable right now. I need a hug right. That's also something that your mindset, the truthfulness in your mindset. If you're only strong enough because, and for example, this is my personal example, because your mommy has always been and she's your example, then that's not you. That's not you. You take zero credit for that. Spiritually, karmically, energetically. That's not you. That's a lie. That's your Neptune. You're elating yourself. That's not, the thing is, mommy does receive on the other side your energy of gratitude and she's outraged. What are you doing? She sends it back. No, 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 no. And then this is this is where, energetically speaking, what motivates us. If it's nothing, us personally, if it's mom, dad, a religious figure, an illusion, something that has nothing really to do with us, that's not us. Then we find ourselves in energetic poverty, and we are like in a paradox, because we can figure, but this is where sometimes we need to put something on the table. And if the ego is always seen as the prime evil, then one is just a ghost and will have never ever. So, this is where the misinterpretation of religion, Buddhist religion, Christian religion, what do we do with the ego? If we stab it, no one's gonna thank us, especially not the divine, especially not the higher beings. But if we dilute it, that's even worse, so better stab it then, you know? But if we just keep it healthy, we don't take we're just the dream in life, it's just the dream, then nothing really matters as much. And that's the vibe which kind of keeps you in the flow, really. Not every person is meant to experience the joys of that flow. That is what Venus and Mercury sadly tell some people, that, well, you're not meant to be a mystic at all. You're not meant to be an artist, but you're such a wonderful manager. What are you doing? We need you there. So yes, but that's also Mercury retrograde. So I don't want my assistant to give up on existence because I bore him. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all the love and support. And thank you so much, I don't know who you are, named Mephisto, for your generous donation. If there is anything I can do for you, please get in touch. Thank you so much for everyone. Until next time, bye for now. Oh, and bye, Mickey, say bye bye.